The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Hey, good morning everyone, and welcome to this seminar, Intro to Building Mobile Apps with Salesforce1. No code required. So the purpose of this webinar is to really get you to understand a bit more on just what you can do with the new Salesforce1 mobile app and how you can make your users' life a lot more efficient and more to the point to what they do in their day-to-day tasks. Let me quickly, oops, sorry. Wrong corner of the screen. Yeah, this should be better. Okay. All right. So my name is David van Puyvelde. I'm a solution architect in EMEA, which means I typically take care of IT-related topics such as development, integration, and security. And I can also go deeper into some more complex questions about mobile if that's what you want to do today. But please remember that the purpose really is to focus on the no-code requirements today only. Obviously, this is a Salesforce presentation, which means that we always need to start with the safe harbor slide. So basically what it says is we are a publicly traded company. And should I make any forward-looking statements, which I do not plan on, but should I make any forward-looking statements, then you should never base any buying decisions, stock or product, on those forward-looking statements, and always take the current functionality that is available into account. All right, now let's get started. So what we have seen, and I pulled up this BBC News article, is that 2013 was really the year that we all went mobile. And if you think about it, if we look at our day-to-day life, our professional life, and our private life, mobile is really everywhere. We see that people are really still continue to answer emails in the evening, or the other way around, that they're during the day, that they're still, for example, quickly do a check on Facebook or on Twitter, and it really, there's the line between work and private life has blurred, and you can really have access to all of the information that you need all the time. And an important reason for that is that we all have this window into work and private life, which is our smartphone, which is our tablet. What we see as well is, and you've probably seen these type of graphs before, is that mobile devices or the sales of mobile devices is far outpacing PCs. That means that more and more people will actually use these mobile devices to not just do their personal interactions, but also to do all of their professional work. And this is something that Salesforce is betting on heavily. If you've heard our latest messaging around mobile, you probably heard that we really have become a mobile-first and API-first company, which means that really everything we do is really focused on mobile UIs. So everything we build, everything we do, we make sure that it now works on the mobile interfaces first before we even consider the desktop interface. We started that at Dreamforce last year, and we're working on this heavily, and the Salesforce1 mobile app, as you hopefully have seen briefly already or even in more detail, is really the first iteration of that principle. And another thing to understand is that today we see that really consumer behavior is really dictating what is going to happen in enterprises later on. So in the early days of information technology, we really had enterprise technology which was way ahead of what consumers could do. But already for a decade or so, we can really look at consumer technology and interactions and really use that as a very good prediction on what is going to happen in the enterprise. If we see that, for example, Facebook is accessed way more over mobile devices than it is over PCs and laptops, then this means something. And we fully expect the same thing to happen very shortly also in the enterprise world. Now, the problem in enterprises, however, is that enterprises find it extremely difficult to create a mobile strategy. So if you look at surveys that are being done in lots of companies, you see that really lots of them, more than half, consider mobile apps to be critical for them. and IT officers and CIOs and architects all realize this, but at the same time, not a lot, not even half of those, or roughly half of those, are actually able to do this. So only half of the companies that really want to go mobile can actually go mobile. And the reason for that is it's not easy. It's we have today various devices. We have Android devices, we have iOS devices, which you need to build custom apps for, often in native languages. On top of that, you need to put out all of the backend systems that deliver the information to these devices, that then do the internal workflow and reporting on whatever data is being managed in those apps. So it's really not an easy thing to do. And it's not just the complexity of the devices, but also the limited number of developers, the different operating systems and platforms that you need to deal with. On top of that, you have security requirements, and all of that makes it very hard today for a lot of companies to really move into that new mobile world, while they do realize that it is happening. So Salesforce1 is obviously our answer to that problem. So what we have decided is to really make sure that all the work that you do in Salesforce.com, and those can be our CRM applications, but those can also be custom applications that you have built, that all the work that you have done is now available on your mobile devices, on your smartphones, on your tablets, all of them. We have also made sure, and we have invested a lot of time and effort in making sure that all of your past investments are not lost. So what I mean by that is that if you have built custom applications, or if you have built extensions to your sales or service applications, we want to make sure that all of those were still accessible and usable through the new mobile UIs. And we're continuing to work on making this better and better with each release that we have. So it's not just your applications, your CRM apps, your custom apps, but also the App Exchange applications can now be surfaced within your mobile devices. So even if those applications are external, off-platform, we have technologies like Canvas that will allow you to actually bring this into your mobile front ends. All right. If you look at, for those of you that are administrators, you probably know a lot of what is on the screen here today. So you probably know that it always has been really easy to customize your CRM applications or to build new applications. You hopefully know about creating objects and fields, page layouts, buttons, tabs, search layouts, and so on and so on. So those have been available for quite a while now and are, in my humble opinion, probably the real strength of the Force.com platform. This is what a lot of other platforms are lacking, that point and click and declarative way of creating apps quickly or customizing existing processes quickly. Perhaps a bit less known to you, unless you're a developer, is the fact that we also had lots of APIs available, and we keep adding those to those continuously, but we had lots of APIs available already that allowed you to expose your applications to either external applications, to mobile applications, or to other platforms such as Heroku and our new exact target APIs that we have now. Now, this already allowed you to build mobile apps using either native technologies or HTML5 and Visualforce, for example. But really what we have done is make sure that we have added a number of components which really bring those capabilities of creating mobile apps to the next level. So I will talk about most of these. Publisher actions, the mobile navigation that you can actually configure again, compact layouts, mobile cards, enhanced lookup, embedded charts, and so on. So I will actually go through these and show you, because most of today will be actually demo. I'm not going to spend too much time in slides. But this is really to augment what already was available and to really make sure that you can declaratively add features to your mobile apps, that you can make the experience for your users better, and ultimately a better experience is better efficiency and more value to your company. So this is really the focus of today. How can you make what you already have even better, and how can you make it mobile? Now, when you're building for mobile devices, there's a number of things that you need to keep in mind. There's a considerable difference between a laptop or a desktop UI and a mobile UI. Starting with the form factor, obviously you have a smaller screen, but there's a lot of things that you need to think of to really make it a successful implementation. So first and for all, given the fact that the UI or the resolution or the screen real estate on your mobile devices is a lot smaller, you're not going to be able to put as much fields on one page in the visible area of the screen. So you really need to think about what are the most important things for users to see at a glance. What do they need to see first? What is most important to them in whatever they're doing in their day-to-day job? Also, what are the most important moments when they are using the app? So we realize that the use of mobile devices really happens in what we call micro moments. So that means that when you're on the road, you're obviously not continuously looking at your screen. You're going to be using the app when you have some downtime, when you're in an airport, where you're on a train, or if you are using this app in, for example, as we will be doing during the demo, as a delivery driver, when you get out of your truck and very quickly have a look at what you need to drop off and then register the drop off. And this can be applied to any process. You really need to understand when are my users, when are they going to use the app and what do they want to do then. So if people need to do data entry, then you also need to think about, all right, if we want to harvest data from our mobile users, what fields absolutely must have content? So what are we going to ask from them? And not all of them, so what must have content? So really make sure that you put those first, so that those are filled in. And also, since people don't want to be typing all the time on those small keyboards on mobile devices, what can we already default? So what can we already, where can we already put default values so that users don't need to enter all of this manually? And this really can improve efficiency and the use of your applications. So as I said, not too much slides today, so let's actually build something and put these principles into practice. So let's quickly get out of the PowerPoint here and switch to a browser. So what you're seeing here is a Salesforce UI as you know it today, so the online UI. And what we're going to be using here as an example is a company that needs to do deliveries. That needs to do deliveries to restaurants, and they need to deliver food. This can be a process that has already been implemented, because that company wants to track what deliveries exist. So, and you see a number of tabs that have been exposed here, such as who are our customers, but also what are the deliveries that we need to make. And with a number of list views, I'm now logged in here as an administrator. We'll switch to the driver on the road in a second in a mobile UI. But you can see here that online we can have a look at what are all the deliveries that we need to manage. There's also a My Deliveries list view, which will just focus on the deliveries that the driver has to do, or whomever has to take care of deliveries. And then obviously we have detailed screens of each and every single delivery, which really shows you all of the detailed information. So what's the delivery number, for which restaurant is it, when do we want to drop it off, what's the scheduled window, what's the current status, number of items, and obviously the address where we want to drop this off. Let's quickly also get my cheat sheet here. I'm using a dual setup screen, so that's handy. All right. So this is really the online version of this, but really a driver is not going to be using a laptop all the time. So they're not going to be sitting in their truck with a laptop on the passenger seat, or when they're outside of the truck. They really want to use a mobile device to quickly see what they need to deliver, where they need to deliver it, at what time, and so on. So what I will be doing here is I'm actually going to bring up my own mobile phone, which is an iPhone. We'll just put it on the screen, and then we'll have a quick look at what the driver sees. So hopefully the mirroring will pop up. Yes, it does. So the driver is, what you're seeing here is my iPhone. So I'm using AirServer to mirror it on the screen. The only annoying thing is that you cannot see where I point my finger while I'm tapping something. So I will do it slowly so that you can hopefully see the icons and links highlight as I hit them. The one to pay attention to right now is the Salesforce1 app in the bottom left-hand corner. This is the downloadable app that you can find on Google's Play Store and on Apple's App Store. So if we open this as the driver, and in this case I am Dan driver, you can see that we actually have the Salesforce1 user interface. For those of you that haven't seen it just yet, it's a very modern feed-centric UI. So the first thing I see here is all of the conversations that are going on between myself, colleagues, and even data that is talking to me whenever schedules are changed and so on. On the top right-hand corner, you can see the little bell. This is actually, this will turn red if there are any notifications for me available. So we'll just hit that bell, and we can see that, for example, there's a task assigned to me, and that there's also a mention of one of my colleagues notifying me that actually there's a new item added to one of the deliveries that I need to do. I can drill down in any of those. For example, I can have a quick look at the task that I now have, which is an extra drop-off that I need to do, and I can just flag it as being done and so on. So push notifications is really built into Salesforce1, and those can be either in-app notifications, meaning that whenever I'm in the application, I can actually see that bell turning red, but we also have push notifications even when the application is not running, similar to what you see in Twitter and Facebook if you have that on your mobile device. So we will actually notify you if there's something new and interesting for you. If I now click on the top left-hand side, where we see the little hamburger, if you will, so the three lines, this will actually bring me into the navigation. And the navigation then actually shows me things like the feed, which I was just in, people I'm following, colleagues, and so on, groups, a today view, which gives me an overview of my local and online calendar, so both what is on my iPhone as well as what exists in Salesforce. And also, if I scroll down a little bit, the recent items, which we call the smart search items, and I will explain a little bit further how that works. So this will effectively give me access to everything that I, as a driver, am working with. So the customers, the deliveries, return items, perhaps questions that have been asked in the form of cases, and so on, as well as some more advanced stuff, as, for example, dashboards, which I can go into. And I've set up an extremely simple one here just to show you the point. I can actually see the amount of deliveries that we're working on and how many are actually in transit and already delivered. So if I go back and actually now move into the deliveries, I can see the same list views. So on the top you see the My Deliveries and the All Deliveries views that we also have online. So, and below that we can see the most recently used items by myself, and I can just drill down in one of those, for example, this one, which is for Katya's Russian tea room. And what you will see is that you actually have all of the same information that we also had online, such as the account, the address, the phone, all of the fields that exist on the online version, which have been created with our page layout editor, are actually available on the mobile device as well. And they're in an optimized format, meaning that I'm on a smartphone right now. That means that I will just have one column because the screen is not wide enough to show me two columns. But if I were to look at the same UI on, for example, a tablet, an iPad, or an Android tablet, I would have more screen real estate and have two columns. So On the left-hand side, so if I swipe to the left, you can see the three dots on the top of the screen, but showing me that I have like 3 areas where I can go into. I actually have the chatter feed on this particular record, so people can discuss on this specific delivery. And if I swipe to the right-hand side, I can see all of the related information, again, as it exists in the online version. So what are the delivery items? What are the activities? So let's, for example, go into delivery items. I can see that I have to drop off 2 items at Katie's restaurant. All right, now this is by itself nice. This is really out of the box. So if you have created any application, any process online in your Salesforce UI, it's immediately mobile, but really we can use a number of things to make the experience better. Because, for example, if you look at the highlights panel on top, we see there, this is delivery 64. This doesn't really mean much to me. So as a driver, I would really like to have some more information that I can see at a glance. And so we're going to actually customize a little bit what we can do here for the user. So first thing I will do is actually I will change that highlights panel on the top. So I will go into the setup of my, I will move this aside for a second. I will go into the setup area. I'll open a new tab for that. And perhaps before I do that, let me quickly show you how you can actually change the mobile navigation. So mobile navigation, remember, this is, if I bring this back for a second, and I need to drag it from one screen to another, yes. If I see the mobile navigation, this is what we see here on the left-hand side. So all of these items can be customized, what you see and in what order you see them. You do have control on that. So if I move this aside again. So in the setup area, there's something called mobile administration and mobile navigation, which does give you control over what shows up there. Notice that we have, for example, put the smart search item, which shows up as recent right here. But if I wanted to move this up or down, I can do that. Everything that is below the smart search items will show up as apps in the mobile UI. My AirServer is a bit confused with the resolution, but it does show up nicely on my phone. So you actually have control of that. So you can put objects there, you can put applications there, you can put Visualforce pages there, which you have exposed as tabs. And you can also even put external applications there, which you have included via Canvas technology. So if you wanted to surface SAP screen, for example, that you have canvasified, for the lack of a better word, you can actually make that show up there as well. But now let's do something more meaningful and actually change that highlights panel on the top to make sure that our driver actually sees some better information at a glance. So in order to do that, I will go into the delivery custom object. And one of the things that you might have seen if you're an administrator is that we now have the notion of what we call a compact layout. And a compact layout is actually what will show up at the top. So let's call it the driver layout. And what we want to put there is actually what is meaningful for the driver. So let's say that obviously probably the most important thing is when the delivery needs to be made, because that will determine where it needs to go and when, for which customer it is. So I'm looking for the account here. There it is. And perhaps also the current status of this delivery as well as, for example, the delivery number. So we can put 4 fields in there. This can be any field on the delivery item, including images, if that's what you like. So if you have some fancy formula there, putting a nice icon, for example, representing the status with some flags or colors, you can actually move those into the compact layout on top as well. So I've created this compact layout. I still need to assign it right now. So to make sure that our driver sees this. So we will put this as the primary layout right now for everyone. Do remember that you can actually do this per profile if you want to as well, because every layout is actually controllable by profile. So if you want to make this different for different groups of people, you have that control as well. So if I bring back my iPhone here, and if I go into the delivery again, and let's refresh this. Oh, it was already there. Yeah, we can now see at the top that we actually have the date, the time, the customer that we need to go to, and the status, which is way better than just showing the delivery number, right? So another thing now that the delivery driver has their My Deliveries views where they can see what they need to do once they enter a delivery, they can now quicker see actually the most important information. We're now going to look at those important moments. So what does a driver need to do? They need to drop off, they need to accept, they need to have exception for the drop off. Perhaps they need to log an exception. Perhaps the customer is saying, I cannot accept this because this is not what I ordered, or there is damage, or this is not fresh. So actions are actually underneath the plus icon on the bottom right-hand corner, and this is where we put our publisher actions. What you can see right now is, if I hit this publisher action button, is that we actually have the global actions which are available everywhere. So by default, we will put the global actions everywhere if you don't customize this to something specific. But obviously, we want to make this more specific to a delivery by itself. So we want the driver to be able to actually log these exceptions, set a new estimated time of arrival, which could then, for example, in the backend, send out an SMS and notify the customer, put the acceptance of the customer in there, and so on. So we're going to customize this. So let's go back to, move this aside. Let's go back to our delivery custom object in our setup. And what we're now going to do actually is we're going to go to the page layout for the driver. You can see that we have multiple page layouts here. So perhaps we don't need these actions for other people, but just for the driver. So we have a specific layout for the driver. Let's edit this. And what we see here at the top is already those publisher actions. Right now, they are still the global actions, as I have mentioned, but we really want to override this and make it specific. Let's not put those in there. Let's take all of this out there, because this is really not of any interest to the driver. And if I go to the actions section there on top, I can actually now put some additional actions in here. For example, set estimated time of arrival. And actually, I'm missing one. I wanted to do that exception logging, right? So I don't have that here. So let's create one of those first, and I will then come back here and add that one as well. So one of the things that you see is button links and actions. So actions is new since a couple of releases, and I'm going to create a new action so that we can actually log an exception, so that we can say, I cannot deliver this because of A, B, or C, whatever reason. So those actions are record specific. And there's a number of things that I can do. So I can create a new record, such as an item to be delivered. I can log a call. I can create an action which is actually backed by a custom Visualforce page. So you can do something really specific. Or you can update a record, which is what we're going to do now. We're just going to update the delivery with the exception and the time the exception occurred, who was there to accept the package, and actually a reason. So I'm going to call it log exception. I can use some standard label types here, which I'm not going to do. I will just use the log exception, but do realize that you have the choice of picking one of those: log a call, new record, update record. The advantage is, if you pick one of those, they will actually be translated for you in all of the languages that we support. if obviously you're going to use a label that you have defined yourself, you will have to do the translation afterwards, which you can still do in our translation workbench. You have the option to pick custom icons and so on. I'm not going to do all of that. Let's just create this action, which is updating the record. What we now see is a small form builder, if you will, where we are going to actually put the fields that we want the driver to fill in. So for this exception, what we want to have there is the exception reason, so that we can actually log why we're logging an exception, and also who we were talking with at the customer. These are the fields that the driver has to fill in. Now, there's also two other things that we would like to know when such an exception occurs, and that's when it happens. So we want to register the actual time, and we obviously want to set the status of the delivery to exception. Now, we don't have to ask the driver to do that because the system knows what time it is, and we already know beforehand that we want to change the status to a specific field value. So I'm just going to save this, so meaning that we will now ask for those two fields, but I can actually also use this predefined field value section below here, and then say that we, for example, want to set the actual time. And I can here use the formula editor to calculate any time. This is going to be now, right? So when this occurs, so let's just select that one. So this will give back a date time and allow me to, or allow the system to fill the time in for the driver. And another thing that we want to do is actually change the status of the delivery. So we're going to change the status to a specific value, which is exception. So status is a pick list field, and those are the values that are available to this field. So we can actually already do that. All right. Let's now go back to our delivery object and add this new publisher action to our layout. So I already had put 3 in there, ones that I had, and now the new one that I just created, I really want it on there as well. So the actions are here, and my new log exception action can be added to it. All right, I'll do a quick save, and let's bring up the mobile UI again, drag it over here. So all I need to do is just refresh the screen, so there's no recompiling, republishing to the App Store, any of that going on. This is all in real time, thanks to the fact that we are using HTML5 under the hood. And if I now open the actions on this particular delivery item, I can see that this is really tailored for the driver, and the driver can actually now log the exception, which is what I'm hitting now. And for example, the exception reason will be damaged boxes, for example, if I can type on this small screen. And the person that I was talking to at the customer was Fabian amount, for example. Amanda amount. All right, done. And I can submit this. You can see the little toaster on top quickly that says that it has been logged for me. Now, if I scroll down, then I can actually see, and I'm looking for the actual time window. Here it is. So I'll actually use my mouse to point it out, actual time. This is now registered by the system. I didn't have to type it in as a driver, and also the exceptions, the status of the delivery is automatically set to exception for me. So this is really making it more efficient for the driver to fill this in. All he had to do was fill in 2 fields, and he was done. All right, this is better, but we can make it even better than it is already. So, for example, we see here that we have to deliver at KTS Russian tea room. And yes, obviously I can go into the account record by just hitting that link and then just seeing the details there. But what users often want is really at a glance very quickly to be able to see some interesting information about this account. Now we do have on the right hand side, we have related info, but actually I want to bring the account info in here so that very quickly in one page, swiping left, right, the driver has access to everything which is of interest to him while making those deliveries. This is not unlike what we have also in our online version where you have these hover pop-ups. You just hover with your mouse over a link and you can immediately see, for example, the details of the account info. This is similar. We're looking at a record, we're just moving over and we want to see some quick info. So the way we're going to do that is using something we call mobile cards. So again, move this out of the way a little bit. So if I go on the delivery object again, so I'll just save, or I can cancel this, I already saved it. So I actually, oh, and I could have stayed in the layout because that's actually where I need to do this. So in the driver layout, we see something. So the related lists, which you know from the online version, is what also shows up on the right-hand side if you swipe to the right in this mobile UI. But you see something here, Salesforce1 only, which is called mobile cards. And you can actually use that to quickly drop information in there. Now this can be just objects. You can see here account. The reason why I can drop an account object in here is twofold. One, because we have an account which is linked to this delivery, so there's actually a lookup between delivery and account. And also the fact that we have created a compact layout, as we did for the highlights panel for delivery. And here we also have a compact layout for account, which can now be reused here in this section. Now I also very quickly created a visual force page, which just shows a Google map of where we need to create the delivery. It's an extremely simple one. It's just using the Google Static Maps API that allows us to visualize any address, and you can actually drop that in there as well. So you have quite some freedom in just putting in there standard data as well as really custom pieces of UI, as long as you make it optimized for the device you're going to show it on. Things like table width or width of anything you're showing there. The best thing obviously is to make it responsive so that it will automatically adapt to smartphone, tablets, and so on. So let's save this and see what we have as a result here. So let's bring my phone back into view. So if I now just refresh our delivery again, and again on the detail page, swiping to the right in the related information, I can now actually see two things. One is the account card, mobile card, if you will, which is based on the compact layout created for the account page, as well as that Google map, which makes it really easy and really quick for the driver to see, oh, okay, I need to go over there. So this is really making the experience for the user way better than it is. So if you compare this to what we started with, I think we will have a much happier driver right now. Okay, so this is it for the demo part. Let's quickly go back to, and just for the record, if you have any questions, you do have a questions section on in the webinar control panel. So if you do have questions, do please post them over there. We will spend some time at the end here to answer those. So let's quickly recap what we have done. So we've had a quick look at notifications, allowing you to notify people when well, they need to be made aware of something. The navigation that you have control over, so not just feed and objects, but also application, canvas, apps. I didn't show those, but there's quite a number of things that you can do. List views that translate back to the mobile UI. Compact layouts, which are really useful for this at-a-glance view of any data. Mobile cards, which can really bring in more information into your record detail pages, as well as actions which you can customize, not just per object, but also per profile. So if we look at those one by one, the notifications, notifications will happen at certain moments. For example, if somebody mentions you in Chatter, you will receive a notification. But also if you get a task assigned to you, or if there's an approval request that needs your attention, all of that will actually generate notifications for you. There's actually two types of notifications, if you will, and on the right-hand side you see here what it looks like in the setup area. So you have a settings screen under notifications. There's actually in-app notifications. Those are on or off for your entire org. And there's also push notifications, where we actually use the device's capabilities to push notifications to the device. And this will only work if you have the Salesforce1 app installed from the Google Play Store or from the Apple Store. And those are not for everyone. Those can be controlled by the user themselves. So push notifications can be set on or off by every single user in their device settings, just as they do with any other push notification from Facebook or Twitter apps and so on. The mobile navigation, we've had a quick look at. This is what you bring up in the left-hand side. Again, it depends on the user what shows up there. It depends on the security settings. So what tabs, objects, and so on this user can see will determine what will show up there. And you can actually, as I said, not just put the recent items there, but you can create apps and other tabs such as Visual Force pages and Canvas apps can be surfaced here in the apps section. Perhaps let's spend a little bit of time on that recent section over there. This is a lot of people ask me, so what shows up there? And really, what this is really driven by the user behavior itself. So things that you use most in Salesforce will automatically bubble to the top here. If you do not want that behavior, you can actually override that as a user. So this is not for the administrator, but actually for the user, by pinning certain objects to the top in your search. So if you do a search in the online version and you always want to see certain items on top, you just pin them, which you can do in your search result page. Once you've pinned them, they will actually show up first in this recent section, also in the mobile UI. So that's an interesting bit of info to know. Not everyone is aware of that. List views. List views do show up on your mobile UI as well. What we will actually do is we will show all of the list views that exist in the online or in the laptop screen, if you will. The last 4 that you have used, if you have more than 4 of them. The details, if you actually look into a list view, as you see on the right-hand side, the cards that you see there are not determined by compact layouts. Those are actually determined by the columns that exist in your list view. So the first 5 columns that you have in your list view will actually determine what shows up there. The order will be determined also by the last order that you have used. So if you have sorted by date or by delivery number or by account, we will remember that order and it will be reused here. Okay, we've got some screen building up. All right, record detail. The record detail actually is pretty much the same as we have in the browser version. You will also have your buttons there. So all of your VF buttons will show up there. The ones that we do not support, oops, sorry, for some reason. Okay, let's move this aside a little bit. All right. So your buttons will show up there, except for JavaScript and URL buttons, which are not supported just yet in the Salesforce1 UI. The fields that show up are the same ones as the ones that you have in your online UI. So that's actually the same as the detail section that you have there. Okay, let's move on to the next slide. And PowerPoint is giving me a bit of... Okay, publisher actions, we've seen that. Those will appear all below those plus sign. Don't know if you know that, but if it does block some of your view, there's some field value. You can actually move this to the left or right to move it out of the way if you want to. In the Salesforce1 app, you cannot do that in the browser, but in the Salesforce1 app, you can actually move it aside. And the compact layout is what shows up in the highlights panel. Any field that you put there, you have up to 4, can be shown there. As I said, including images. Related information, those are the related lists that you have, will show up here together with the mobile cards that you have defined. And mobile cards can be compact layouts of other related objects, but it can also be things like Visualforce pages. All right, actions is what we put underneath the publisher icon. And again, they are context sensitive in a way that you can actually scope them to a certain type of object. So in this case, we have created actions which are only valid for a delivery, but realize that these are also placed on page layouts, and page layouts also depend on profile. So you can actually make it not only dependent on object, but also on the type of user that is looking at this. So you can create lots of combinations to really tailor the user experience specifically to the type of object and type of view of user that is using it to make it as efficient as possible. So you have a lot of possibilities there. So quick recap, what are the important things to see at a glance? That's obviously what we try to put into the compact layouts. Also try to make sure that if you are on a record detail page that you put the most important fields also on top there so that users don't have to scroll too much. The most important moments when using the app is probably things that you want to put underneath the publisher action item. Be careful with this. It's the most important moments, not all moments. So you don't want to end up with 50 different actions there because that kind of defeats the purpose. Just put whatever is most important underneath publisher actions, and then realize that the user is still always capable of just going into the record and edit it or change it whenever he needs to for the more exceptional type of things that they need to do. Fields that must have content are typically fields that you will put into the little form that you put underneath an action, and fields that can be defaulted do use the predefined field values there to make sure that users don't need to enter them manually. So if you want to have a go at this by yourself, you can always start up a free developer edition, which has all of this built in. So it does have the Salesforce1 mobile UI, and you can connect to it from the downloadable app. It has also things like sites and lots of things that you can actually try. So it's really your playground to use. They're free and they don't expire. And it really allows you to test some stuff out without having to mess up your production environment. So I do advise you to, if you're trying out just some stuff, to do it in a developer edition. There's also a very good Salesforce1 dev guide. It's not just for developers, it's also for admins, so it covers both the point and click world as well as the actual coding world, if that's what you want to do. So both are in there. And you can actually test it out by downloading the Salesforce1 app. Or even if you want to see the UI without the Salesforce1 app, you can always, in your own environment, just have a look at whatever your instance is, EU1 or EU2.salesforce.com/1/1.app, which will also bring up the mobile UI. All right, I'm not going to go through all of these because I do want to leave some time for questions. But we do have the capability to, or you can actually go and look up all of these, the developer guide. There's a separate guide for publisher actions, how you implement those. Intro to Salesforce1 app development. There's also a webinar such as this one, which has been recorded before. This one is recorded as well. And there's also the Force.com workbooks, especially for people that are new to Salesforce, that even need to figure out all of the how we build objects, fields, and so on. I highly recommend the workbooks. They are really good in taking you in a step-by-step fashion to everything you need to know. And there's also lots of Dreamforce sessions that are recorded, videos of them that are available on the link below. All right, there's also a kind of program that has been run by our developer productivity team called Udacity. Those are video trainings which really help you turn your spreadsheets into mobile apps. Very worthwhile to have a look at. And if you want to give some feedback, and you will get this link as well later on, you can do so via this link. And that's as far as we go here with the PowerPoints. So let's quickly see if I have some questions here. And I do need to switch to this view to have a look at questions in the right-hand panel. So, okay. Oh, can we show Heroku in Salesforce1? So Heroku, for those of you that don't know it, is actually part of our platform where you can build apps using pretty much any language that you want to have, such as Java or Node.js or Python or PHP. It's your choice. For people that have built apps on Heroku, can you surface them in Salesforce1? Yes, you can. Actually, what you will be using for that is a combination of our Canvas technology and connected apps. So this is all very well explained also in the Salesforce1 developer guide. So I do urge you to go and have a look at that. But you can, just as any other, let's say, non-Force.com or app, you can actually surface that through using Canvas. Let's see, are there other questions? Default order in the list view. I think I've already touched that briefly. So default order in the list view is really is just determined by what you have done online. So you can sort your columns online by just clicking on the header of those columns. And this sort order will also be taken into account when you're in the Salesforce1 UI. And I see some other questions, but I think I've answered them in the meantime. How can I control what objects show up? All right, if there are still questions, we still have a few minutes, so you can drop them in the question section in the GoToWebinar control panel. I'll just give it a little bit of time. And I'm not seeing anything come through. All right, then we'll end this a few minutes early. So let's give you back like 3 minutes of your day. And thanks for being on the webinar. And we will send out the slides and the recording as well as the FAQ later on. Thanks for listening.